Thanks for joining us on the RP Experience. I'm your host, Andrew Regenhart, and today we have Dan Diekneite, one of our top producing agents. I knew I was going to butcher it. Did I screw it or did I get it right?
You aced it.
Oh, yes,
You aced it.
A lot of practice. Listen, a lot of practice. All right, Dan. Dan is a top producing agent here in Southwest Florida. He was actually born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. His family had been vacationing here in the area since he was a kid. And some of Dan's earliest memories are actually from his time here in Florida. In Naples, Dan actually started experiencing his first bit of passion for real estate. And Dan got his real estate license during his junior year of college. After graduation, he entered into the real estate business full time. He began as an assistant in a marketing role, but he quickly transitioned into selling real estate, and he's been absolutely crushing it. So congratulations, Dan, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Really
Excited
appreciate
to have
it.
you. So if you don't mind, let's obviously talk a little bit about who you are and, your life up in Missouri before you got down here.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Missouri my whole life, and I attended a all-boys Catholic school, boarding school also, which I would not recommend. And from
So
there,
you're not going to send your kids there, huh?
probably not,
No.
unless they beg and plead.
Which I don't think they would.
I don't think they would either. And I don't know why I did. But, and my family has been in the golf business for a long time. And so that's where I really took up golf and played golf. Oh my God. I mean, during the summer, every single day growing up.
It's a terrible time, terrible life.
I know. I'm happy somebody has sympathy for me in this world.
It was totally real.
Yeah.
No
And
sarcasm.
so from there, I went to Florida Southern College in Lakeland, right outside of Tampa, and made every opportunity to come down to Naples. My family's had a place here for a long time, and just made it down here from there. As you said, I started in a marketing and assistantship role and moved on to working in real estate. And the rest is really history.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what do you think was your biggest drive from like up north to down here factor? Was it besides weather?
Yeah. It's really the lifestyle. I mean, we have so many fantastic restaurants. You can be on Keewaydin any day of the week.
All year round too, which is kind of crazy.
All year round, exactly. You've got Fort Lauderdale, Miami, West Palm on the other coast you can drive to. I mean, I've gone over there for the day plenty of times. And just the beach. I mean, there's so many festivals in the Naples area that are such a blast. And so that's really it. It's just the quality of life. I mean, the weather is obviously a very huge factor with that also. But
you say quality of life. One of the things that I didn't realize, because I grew up in Wisconsin until I got down here, is just the beating that a body will take, or a car or a house or anything from up north or compared to down here. The basic of up north now. A lot of the states will do sand versus salt, but a lot of these states are still using salt to de-ice. The destruction that it causes to vehicles and different things like that and roads and whatnot. And you're like, whoa. And then you're down here and things just last longer. It's no wonder the old people want to come down here and hang out, because their body's not hurting all the time.
No kidding.
From, being up there in the cold and whatnot and all that stuff. It's I don't blame them.
No kidding. Well, and you're living in life without color really for at least 6 months of the year. I mean, it's just gray and white and So,
they say what is it? 3 months of summer up there, 3-4 months. You don't get much. I mean, you
up
get a
by
little,
you
get a little side, okay, it's fall. And I remember specifically out, it's 40 degrees, shorts.
Yep.
Now I'm a baby. I just got back to traveling, had sweatshirts on the whole time. And it was in Mexico. And it was 70 degrees. It's still kind of cold. No, my up north people don't listen to that. So, you had mentioned getting out of the water and go down to Keewaydin. I knew the photo shoot when we featured you within Real Producers, we incorporated your boat. That's been a big lifestyle. Talk about the boating down here. Why do people enjoy it so much?
I didn't grow up with a boat. we really very rarely took boats out when I was a kid, and it's just you really don't experience the full Naples, Southwest Florida lifestyle without the boat, in my opinion. I mean, Naples is gorgeous on land, but there's a whole nother Naples that you see, especially in the evening when you're going around Port Royal, and it's a total lifestyle change, and it's really one of my best investments. And I can't tell you how much fun we've had when the boat is working, which is
you guys, he said best investment. He meant for mental clarity and focus and re-energizing him. He did not mean ROI.
No,
because boating is the worst.
No, I conveniently left that out. Yeah. So
it's always like, oh, you need another this, or this needs fixed, or this, and you're like, I swear that just got done.
And I also own a Range Rover, which I know you know all about.
Oh yeah, and, I'm out now. I got out. I'm back to my truck life, and. But
smart move. So we're good friends with mechanics, but yeah,
exactly. Oh, that's funny. Well, this has been interesting. You had mentioned boat, and you mentioned the beach and the lifestyle. Obviously, we went through something traumatic, with this hurricane. It's been a super hot topic, and we're not trying to beat a dead horse, but like there's so much that's changing, and by the time that you are listening to this, it probably have already changed again. But currently, the market is, we're right around the Christmas time, and it's always been busy around this time because everyone comes down to visits, and quote unquote, we're in season. How do you think the current state of this market is, and how do you think it's going to kind of impact the buyers and sellers moving forward here?
Well, there was a doldrum in the market for a number of weeks after the hurricane, and it's very interesting because it almost just snapped right back, especially in my experience in particular. And I'm seeing a lot of people who are at a certain age that unfortunately suffered some very bad damage to their homes, if not losing their entire home entirely. And they have just decided to buy other homes and just sell their home at lot value, really, as is. And so that has been quite a large driver in the market. And I happen to think that, considering the hurricane happened so recently, I think a lot of these properties that were high and dry, especially some of the newer construction, is going to be very strong, like to the east of 75 in particular. And so that's my prediction. I mean, I do foresee the market softening a little bit as these interest rates continue to climb, but it really is a healthy move for the market. I mean, we can't see another double.
No,
in the market.
It's not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Life's like a roller coaster. You have ups and downs. Like, you can't maintain that up all the time.
All the time. Exactly.
It's got to come down a little bit. And that could be due to interest rates. It could become Mother Nature, whatever, right? You got to come down a little bit. So, it's definitely, I've been hearing a lot of like movement. I heard a lot of like movement right away after the hurricane. So, people are like, oh, it's going to be so slow and everything. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's still a lot of people that are reluctant to do anything because they don't know, right? If it's insurance payout, different things like that. But other people are already moving around. So, what do you, as an expert in the area, and as well as now dealing with this hurricane, what are some people, if you have people coming down that are like, hey, Dan, I'm looking to buy some property. I'm okay with fixing something up because I understand a lot got damaged. I'm looking for the long term, something to have for my family, my kids, or whatever. I want to put some, maybe remodel or something. Where should they be looking, maybe geographically, and what kind of like what kind of home should they kind of be like trying to look out for? Besides using you, and saying, right. I'll put you on my search, right?
Unrivaled expert, yeah. I am pushing people in the direction of properties that were not damaged at all. And a lot of that is newer construction. I mean, I was fortunate to be here right after the hurricane and during the hurricane, in a safe place, but and able to see where the worst flooding was. And granted, I mean, the chances that this will happen statistically are unlikely for a long time, considering Donna was really the last time this happened in the 60s. But I'm an advocate for buying things that are high and dry, and because especially if you're coming down here with your family, I mean, the last thing you want to deal with is another Ian water inundation issue. So
you're saying just avoid the areas that potentially could flood.
I am, and honestly, there's the bulk of Collier County did not take on water intrusion. I mean, Collier was very lucky, but and you know, a lot of the newer construction, even in areas that did take on water, were completely fine. I mean, you had other damage, you know, pool damage, landscaping damage, but so
Speaking of that it's been very impressive to see some of those homes with the breakaway walls.
No kidding.
And it just looks perfect. I mean,
up top, yeah.
Yeah, they just put some sheetrock and
right, replace the elevators.
We got a garage and we're back running.
There you go. What? I know.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was very impressive. I was very naive, not being a Floridian, to understand that. You know, I didn't know that even exists.
Oh yeah, I mean, it really gives you a new appreciation for the building codes.
Yeah,
exactly. They know what they're doing over there. So, I mean, and it's really tough to pinpoint specific areas, but I mean, most of the areas to the east of 41 were fine, and many of the areas to the west of 41 were fine also. I mean, obviously the most of the condominiums were fine also. And so I just typically try to best advise them on the areas that didn't take on.
So where do you think the hottest new area will be post Hurricane Ian?
Post Hurricane Ian, Lake Park really fared very well post Hurricane Ian. Much of Pelican Bay did very, very well post Hurricane Ian. I think the areas that are in close proximity to downtown that were high and dry are going to be very, very hot commodities. Yeah.
How's this rental market right now?
Red hot. It's unbelievable. I put a client who has been on the fence about buying for a number of years into a rental downtown. He wanted to give downtown a try, and thankfully this house did not take on water, but they're asking $60,000 a month for this house. Believe it or not, for the season, high season. And the agent who is representing the listing, he said that he's been getting 5 to 6 calls a day from people who want to rent in season. It's just, that's how hot the rental market is downtown in particular, because of all the folks that can't go in their houses this season. So that's just one little example, but it's hot across the board, really.
And people go, I remember right after Hurricane, oh my gosh, we won't have a season. No one will come visit. No one will be here. It will be a ghost town.
Oh yeah.
Look at the parade that happened. Look at the, every day there's something like Fifth is booming.
I don't know one restaurant, which is a little frightening, one restaurant that's closed right now.
No.
So,
and they were up quick too. They bounced back quick.
Yeah.
So, you kind of touched on this, but you had mentioned the interest rates. It obviously has gone up, and it's quite frankly kind of back to normal in a lot of ways, right? We've been super lucky, and it's been low, and I hope anyone that needed it took advantage of it, right? But we're kind of back into the quote unquote normal rates. We're not even close to what it used to be a long time ago, right?
Oh, we're so lucky.
We're so lucky still. But what are your thoughts on that? I know there's some reports from Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, whatever, saying,
close.
No, I'm not. See, I'm not a hello. But they had some reports. I saw something about it coming back down next year. What are your thoughts on it?
I don't think that's highly unlikely. At the moment, the economy is so strong that I have a feeling that just from what we're hearing from the Fed, that the rates will continue to climb, not as quickly as we've seen them in the last year, 6 months, but so I think it's inevitable that we're going to see rates climb just a little bit more, but and that's in an effort to avoid cutting back on rates as expeditiously as we have in the past, which has been very bad for inflation. So I think Powell is being very, very wise in his moves, and I think he's on the right path. I mean, at least from what I'm seeing, I'm not an expert, but So from what I'm hearing in the lending industry, it sounds like we may have some lower rates, possibly at the tail end of the summer, next fall. So
Now that's going to probably affect mostly, the sub 1 million market, probably a lot more if I'm not mistaken. Correct me, obviously, if I'm wrong here. But do you think it's going to impact the market, kind of the million plus market too? Because a lot of them were like, hey, this is, almost free money. Like, what do you think there? I know there's a lot of people do cash only and everything like that, but like, what are your thoughts on that kind of that sub million versus the million plus?
Yeah, well, I mean, even if you're buying in the 1 million plus range, you're still juxtaposing what's selling in the 500s and the 700s. So, I mean, really, those price points that are, it's hard to believe they're considered lower in this market, are still a factor in pricing properties over $1 million, in my opinion. And so, and a lot of these folks who are buying over $1 million are still financing with the different avenues that they have access to. So they're still impacted. I think overall we're going to see a softening. I don't think we're going to see the big crash of the late 2000s.
Right.
Yeah.
And you kind of chuckled when you said sub million as less expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the meme that's floating around right now, but it's like what I thought I was going to be able to buy with $1 million. And it's like a picture of like a mansion. And then it's like a Zillow report of like this, like very small. I mean, it was a California house, but it was like a very small house and it was like 99999. And it's like, oh gosh, like literally $1 million doesn't buy you much now in a lot of areas, which is mind blowing.
Very accurate for here. Yeah.
So crazy. Well, let's shift gears into more of the mindset of Dan and kind of the progression. We had highlighted quickly that, you were an assistant in marketing role when you first got started, and you really have excelled tremendously from there. I know in last year you were actually among the top 500 agents in all of the state of Florida, which there's a lot of agents. I don't know the number, but there's a lot. And you're actually in the top 500 of the whole state. What do you think kind of has motivated you to get here? And what is your why?
Well, it really is my passion, this business. And just to be frank, I'm really not into, I don't follow sports. I mean, I'm not a huge TV watcher. I mean, I really do love this business. And that has really been the main driver, is I just really enjoy it. And I also, when I was trying to get this business off the ground, I was working, I had a couple different jobs. I mean, I worked at Ocean Prime in particular and at Royal Poinciana. And just thinking back on having that experience before I really climbed into this role full time was so pivotal, because it's just unbelievable how difficult those jobs are. I mean, it's given me a huge appreciation for being in the service industry in general. Particularly the restaurant business. And just thinking back to working those jobs until midnight, I mean, you don't go home early. Nope. And so transitioning, just having that in the rearview mirror has been such a big driver. And the fact that I just love doing it.
So you kind of, in a sense, like the rearview mirror, like what people say is like, when you're up against a wall, right?
Yeah.
You figure out how to move forward and succeed. Like you got nowhere to go, kind of back.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was like your life was terrible, falling apart or anything like that. But, when you see that or you feel that, you're like, I'm not getting back to that. I'm going forward. What do you think it's the challenge? I mean, you guys deal constantly every day, different transaction, different problem. Do you think it's that? Are you the type of person that you enjoy the new challenge every day, or what do you think? Why do you think you love it so much?
It's a competition against me, really, is what I like the most. I mean, it's just it's so much fun to get to the next level and to be in new price ranges that you haven't been in before, and meeting the people in the high end price categories in particular is very, very intriguing. I mean, just the people who have founded companies that have sold for $500 million. I mean, it's very interesting to be able to be in a car with these people for hours and hours on end. And So that's a big part of it too. But
I love it. I love it. Now, a lot of agents are getting started, and they're probably working at these jobs that you're speaking of, or they're putting in the work, and they're looking to kind of take that first step. Do you farm in a specific market, or is it very generic? What are your thoughts on the whole quote unquote farming? Oh, live in your farming area. There's a lot of the sayings in real estate that I've heard. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm an advocate of it. I have not done as much farming as other agents have. I've been working off quite a few referrals in the last couple of years, thankfully. And so I really have been going all over the place, Naples, Bonita, Marco in particular, but marketing can be very, very lucrative. And I know a number of agents who just absolutely dominate in particular neighborhoods. And I have done some farming in the Lake Park area in particular, but one of my favorite marketing tools is the eBlast. Everyone I meet and their friends and associates, I try to get everyone that I can onto my eBlast, and I take a lot of time every month to kind of fine tune that to have information on real estate, information on me, information on, and even more information on what's going on around town, new restaurants. People love that stuff. So
yeah, interesting. What do you think you had mentioned the people you meet, the relationships, and a lot of people do tribute to that. So if you could kind of pull out, I guarantee you have probably a playbook of things that you do to pour into your clients and stuff. But if you were going to pick out one play, or you're going to pick out one thing that people should focus and work on when building relationships and making a relationship last for a long time, what would that be?
I would say keep touching base. I am always, during big holidays, I'm always sending out text messages to clients. I'm calling people. I'm texting them throughout the year. And in addition to the email marketing, I'm just always touching them in some way and keeping in contact. So I think that is incredibly huge, because this is a relationship business, and it's one of the reasons why I've been so I feel like open houses are so incredibly important. Just doing those as many days of the week as you can, just because you need to be in front of people. You need to be meeting people, getting into their tribes, and getting them to trust you.
Gotcha. We're going to end it here in a second, but what's the single best advice you have ever received?
Dress for success. I have taken that and really ran with it, and it's something that I firmly believe is one of the best ways to stand out. I honestly do not like wearing this suit almost every day, and it just makes you stand out, and people take you more seriously when you're running around with clients and they see you in a suit, regardless of whether it's a $500,000 listing or $5 million listing. They know that their friends are going to get the guy in the suit who is well prepared and is polished. And I just think that goes a long way. They know, they feel more confident in referring you to other people. And it also just, it makes you more confident with the information. It makes you more confident working at new price points that you don't typically work.
Yeah.
So
love it. Well, Dan, I told you time would fly by. So, all right, we are out of time. But thank you, Dan, so much for coming on the podcast. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. As always, RP Experience is extremely thrilled to have you on here. We're here at Venture X in the podcast studio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. See ya.